One of our prized possessions in the military display here at the Miracle of America Museum in Polson, Montana, is this destroyer model. It was the Barton 599, and a late friend of ours was on board that ship during maneuvers in the South Pacific, and they had to slow down for maneuvering the fleet, and a spread of Japanese torpedoes hit it right in the center, split it apart, and sunk in less than a minute. He was one of 26 survivors. Bobbing around in the water, they found an island, and but heard Japanese voices on the island around a campfire, so they hid out in the brush, and the next day they were rescued by an American submarine. A destroyer was a protector of the fleet. They were the fastest ship on the ocean, only single hull. That's part of the reason they could go faster. Many of the ships had double hulls. And they carried depth charges like you see in this poster here, and then we'll see a real one in a minute, and they would either drop or project those depth charges out in where an enemy submarine was supposed to be. Now, my friend made this from memory and from photographs, and it's interesting. He happened to have in his pocket when he was blown off the ship his Navy sewing kit. And the lines, they would be called lines in the Navy. On this model here, they'd be bigger in the real ship, but the lines came from his sewing kit. And the little things that were on the recoilless, or not the recoil anti-aircraft guns, had little what looked like springs on them. So those came from his from a pen. Along at the end of this case is a depth charge. We've tried to fit this display out with other things that related to the boat. There's a real depth charge that's deactivated, as all of our things are. The rest of this display is some very interesting things. We have three seen here of the classroom instructional models. Now notice up here, the real carbine here, this happens to have a bayonet. They usually didn't carry a bayonet unless it was close quarter fighting. The carbine was built mainly for jungle use and for the officers where they didn't want to carry something as heavy as a 30-06 Garand like most of the soldiers carried. And so the classroom instructional model was about 3 times larger. It was made out of aluminum and light wood, and was a cutaway. The recruits in training, basic training, had to learn how to take their weapon apart. In fact, they were tested in classroom to take their real weapon apart. This was just so the people in the back of the class could visualize it better. And they would have to take their real weapon apart and clean it and put it back together. Their life might depend on them paying attention, because they may have to do that out on the battlefield, to take their weapon apart and clean mud out of it, or do some minor adjustment or repair. We also have over on this side, the very top, we have the M1 Garand. And we have 2 models of the M1 Garand, 30-06 caliber, 8-round clip. This was General Patton's favorite small arms weapon. He called it the best battle instrument ever devised. And I agree with him. I trained with that and really loved it. But you see, the cutaway is like the one below. Actually, the one very below is a sniper's model and has a scope. Down here, the very bottom training model is the BAR, Browning Automatic Rifle. And we see the one down below, it has a bipod. The BAR man was most feared person in the squad. That would fire either semi or full automatic. It was still 30-06 caliber. And down here we have a water-cooled 30 caliber machine gun, and they had a water thing that would cool the barrel so they could keep firing. And at times it would, if they'd run out of water, I've heard of soldiers actually urinating in the can so they'd have more liquid to cool the barrel, because their life depended on them to keep firing. A lot of interesting gear here. We have examples of some of the artillery shells, and the great big one was probably on board ship. Some were tanks, some small arms, grenades, so forth. Everything is deactivated here to make it safe and for your viewing pleasure. So remember that freedom isn't free. Many men and women have given their lives that we could be free today. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to the Miracle of America Museum.